Hey guys, welcome to Diagnosing United. I am Dr. Jabir Kazi, so I should be looking up there. And yeah, I don't know why I'm smiling. I think we've just seen Liverpool lose, which has taken the edge off the loss that United had taken earlier in the day. I think it's gonna maybe cloud the it's gonna fudge things a little. Is what I'm trying to say. There's not only going to be United losing by a huge margin. You've now got the champions losing also, so it's maybe um, been a little bit of a blessing in for Ollie that it's happened on the same day, and Liverpool are the champions, unfortunately. So who knows whether that's going to maybe distract from what happened at Old Trafford today. But yeah, I think that's why I didn't do this quite at the same time that I normally do, which is about an hour or so after the match. Give me time to calm down and stuff. I'm still pretty angry, to be honest. We saw one of the worst performances I've seen in a long time, and to be honest, it wasn't altogether unexpected. Last week out in the Premier League against Brighton, we were absolutely awful. It could have easily been a similar result at Brighton, and we managed to get the win, which was brilliant. With the penalty at the end and Marcus's really really good goal. But the writing was kind of on the wall in that game. We could have easily gone down in a similar way that we did today back last week. And but for a couple of decisions, going either way, it could have been a similar result that we had last week today, and it could have been the similar result that we had today last week. So it's one of those, the preseason thing. I'm going to keep on banging on about it because I think people don't quite realize how important it is for elite level athletes. Not that, I am one or anything like that, but I do have an understanding of the human body and what a body can do and what a body can't do. No matter how much somebody is paid, no matter how much your brain wants you to do something or how quickly your brain wants you to move and things like that, sometimes if your physicality isn't quite there, you haven't had the correct training leading up to an event or whatever it might be, in this case football matches, then you're going to be off the pace. And if you've got a whole team which has been pulled back and is off the pace because of something like we saw over the COVID restart, where United smashed it, went hell for leather to get third place, managed it, but then also had the time in the Europa League to deal with as well, with 3 more games that we played, could have been a fourth as well. That has had a huge impact. It's pushed back the start of a preseason by 4 weeks or 5 weeks, I think. So the last Premier League game till the last game that United played was 4 or 5 weeks. That means that could have been 4 weeks you sent the players away for, and they could have just rested up, or 3 weeks they could have rested up, and you could have brought them back. When you bring them back, then you can start, building the fitness in a proper way, and it can take up to 6 to 8 weeks for a full preseason to come into effect. Now we know that the players came back in the after the break about a week before, some 2 weeks before the first game. So it's clearly a huge difference. And some of these teams, like Aston Villa, who've absolutely smashed it today, would have been going straight back into pre-season at the same time that United were finishing their own season. So you can see that this is why we've got a huge differential. Teams like Everton, who aren't a bad side, with a good coach, are going to be really, really dangerous up until the point where you maybe see some of the other teams, quote unquote, bigger teams, or last year's top four, or teams who were in the latter stages of Europe, just get back up to speed. But that by that point, it may well be too late. And you might see that whereas previously we've had teams winning the league with, one loss, if that, you may see 5 or 6. We may be seeing the return of the 80 point to win a league season this year. So I think that would be really, really interesting to see how that goes on. But what I did want to talk about, obviously, we'll look at the game that went by. United got absolutely trounced, and there's no way to excuse that or make excuses for it or anything like that. But you can look at the underlying conditions of what's happened and how it's managed to come to this point without saying, "Oh yeah, it's not our fault," and just giving up excuses or anything like that. So I mean, if you look at all the goals, started off brilliantly. First of all, penalty by some good one-touch play, and Martial in behind could have scored, but was brought down, scored the penalty. Then the issues start. Shaky clearances. And this kind of thing is contagious. Once you have one shaky clearance and it doesn't go your way, then you're on edge again, and then something else happens, and again you give away a silly free kick, and Harry Kane was really really sharp for that one. He jumped straight up and almost instantly played Son through, and you saw the goal come from that. Then your confidence drops again, and you're less and less what's the words, settled in your mindset. Whereas if you got away with the first one, where there was a loose clearance by Pogba, went a bit sideways, and then a loose header from Maguire into Bailly, who tried to clear it again, and then another loose header from Maguire, who then pulled down Luke Shaw as he was trying to clear it. If any of that sequence goes your way, you go, oh, phew, we got away with it. Just a little bit of confidence. Oh, things might fall our way. That didn't happen. And as a result, we saw that United, the defense kind of just dropped, collapsed in on itself in a way. So I think you can, if you individually look at each goal, you could say individual error, this individual error for this, individual error for that. Maguire on quite a few of them, unfortunately, today. I think he really, really needs to look at what he's doing. Does he need some time out of the spotlight? Obviously, we know that things went pretty badly for him during the off season, such as it was. Maybe it's the right time to give him, I don't know, maybe even 3 weeks off. Can we afford that though? And is there a fit centre back partnership that we can rely on for that kind of period of time? That is the real issue that we was facing. But like I was saying, each one of those goals, you could just point out, individual errors, individual error here, individual error there, silly tackle here, a mistimed slide here. Each and every one of them, or darting out of position when you shouldn't have done, giving away a silly free kick. Each and every one of those goals could be put down to an individual error. And that is bad in a way, but also gives me hope in another way, because as we know, last year we were much improved in the defensive side of things. So systematically the defense is probably not too bad. It's probably strong enough. Systematically, it is the individuals within that system who need to either buck up their confidence, buck up their ideas, and become much more aware of what they're doing on the pitch. Will that come with some better fitness? That's my hope. If that happens, will we see that defense tighten up again? It feels like they're trying to play very narrow because they're worried that they're going to get caught out and not going to be able to get back in, which is leaving gaps wider. So my hope is that, as the next couple of weeks goes through, we'll see a return to fitness, and hopefully then with it a return to form of some players. At the moment, we've got a majority of the players off fitness and off form. One by one, if we added a couple more guys who are fit and firing, then this result maybe turns into a 4-2 or a 3-2, or maybe a 3-2 the other way. It's that finer margin. One player who is on his game today, be it a Maguire or a Bay, could have stopped a good number of those goals, and then given that confidence to the rest of the team to go forward. Football games swing on momentum based kind of feeling like that, so that could be something that could be we could see in the future as time goes on, if we get those players back into form and fitness. But that is a big if, and we still have lots of games to play, and if we keep on losing, that form is going to be hard to come by, because the confidence is going to get knocked again and again. So it is going to be a very difficult start to the season for United. Obviously, a loss is a loss. 3 points is 3 points. You haven't lost more than 3 points, other than obviously the goal difference. But we should just try and say, okay, we've got to go on from here. Got to be tighter. Got to be, up to speed, and not giving away such poor goals like that again. Whether you do that by beefing up the midfield in front, even playing 3 defensive midfielders for a while, play a 3-5-2 or something like that. Something that's going to just give us that extra bit of solidity, so we're not giving away uh, so many chances and so many easy chances. And then as time goes on, we can start to become more expansive again. That could be the way to do it. It's really difficult, catch 22, because you need to get minutes into the legs of these players, and you also need to be trying to win these games. What's the best way to do both at the same time? I really couldn't tell you. I will talk about the red card as well. I think it was a deserved red. I mean, very, very, very soft. The softest red card you will ever see. My gripe is not that he got a red card. It's that if you give one the red card, you have to give it to the other. That's the only thing that I can kind of say there, and it definitely swung the game completely in their favor. It was already tipping their way at that point. That just finished it off, and by that point, you knew that the game was there or thereabouts finished. And then obviously they score with some sloppy play from the resultant kind of play within a couple of minutes. They're 3-1 up. But what is VAR for if not to look at these kind of decisions and say, actually, they've both done something. Do you want to just give them yellow cards, or do you want to send them both off, or just say enough of that, nothing, anything else from you two, and you're in trouble? There's got to be equality and parity with decisions. There's got to be consistency. An elbow to the throat is much more violent than a little, not even a touch to the face, and if he even made that much contact. I had a look at the rule book earlier. It said any strike to the to the face or head with an elbow, hand, foot, whatever, is an immediate red card. Could you even call a touch a strike? I don't know. It does seem very harsh, but I'm not going to contest the red card. I'm going to contest the fact that if one gets it, the other should also. And I think that's what people will be feeling most aggrieved by when it comes to that particular decision. And let's not forget that Lamela has got, there's a lot of players that you would say, oh, they're not that kind of person. He is that kind of person, and he is the kind of person who is violent, is not a straightforward guy, and probably should have been looked at again. The issue with a VAR, as we all know, is the people who are running it, not the actual technology itself. From my point of view, there needs to be some sort of system where referees can be fired, referees can be fined for poor performance, and the VAR officials can be fired and fined for poor performance. Because if we were, for example, in medicine, dentistry, where my particular career path is, if we were as incompetent, people would be dying. People would be, suing for thousands and thousands of pounds for lost teeth, or all sorts of things. So, from my point of view, you need to have a much higher standard for your officiating, and then you'll actually see a much more appreciative and respect for the referees will go up. Because I think you can always say, oh, you must respect the referee, but in practice that is very difficult if someone is continually getting things wrong. On the whole, the VAR, when it has stepped in, has been not too bad, apart from the handball fiascos. But I just don't understand why they will refer some things and won't refer other things when there's clear and obvious errors that they're being missed, and clear and obvious things that need to be checked and need to be looked at. The elbow by Mane last week. Maybe you're allowed to elbow people. Let me know, is that in the rules now? Are we allowed to elbow people? It looks like Lamella's got away with it this week, Mane last week, and there's countless other instances. Who was it yesterday? The Leeds player 2-footing the guy at the end of the game, that he should have gone for that over the ball. Didn't even look at it. So I think they really need to look at the way they're doing things, and I think there definitely needs to be some sort of accountability there. I think that's pretty much what I have to say on the subject of referees. I'm really not impressed by them, and uh, I don't think you'll ever see me sticking, giving a referee a good word until they actually deserve it. So that's probably what I would look at there. The next part of what I thought we'd look at is a couple of factors. I'll drop them on screen here, about our performances so far throughout the season. So I've put it down to these 6 things essentially. Preseason, I've kind of touched on that already. It's really important. It's why we get beaten by, in preseason, pretty crap teams, Australian league teams and South African league teams and whoever. whoever we play at that time, or when we play, other European teams in Audi Cups or whatever it might be, uh, they're generally at the same fitness level, so you don't notice it in those games because everyone's at the same sort of level, and you're in your first game since preseason. But when you come up against a team who is in their mid-season and you're in preseason, more often than not, United, even with a full 11 out or pretty strong 11 out, will end up losing or have a difficult time of it. And then if you have, like we've seen, some teams within the league who've had a full preseason to recover, rest, recuperate, and get ready and conditioned, and other teams who are coming into it late trying to catch up ground, you're going to see results like 7-2 to Aston Villa. A team that just about avoided relegation now beating the champions. Now, I don't rate Liverpool as highly as some. I think there is a real lack of defensive quality there. So I'm, and I think there's a lack of defensive quality throughout the league, to be honest. But you'll see these disparity of results. I think there's other teams that have had similar results in other parts of Europe as well. You see in Juventus ship goals, Bayern Munich ship goals that they just weren't last season. So it is something that is being repeated week upon week in front of our eyes. The teams who went far in Europe are now getting battered in the domestic season by teams who are not as good as them, or they're getting battered by teams who are pretty close in quality but had more of a preseason. It's a huge deal. It makes a big difference. I think the average fan doesn't quite understand that. Um, Lack of signings. I mean, that goes without saying. If we have a stronger 11, we'll have a stronger performance on the field. And the thing that I think hasn't been said about enough, and maybe I think Gary Neville kind of alluded to this earlier in commentary, was the psychological effect on the current players of new signings. Even if it's in your position, you get that feeling of, I've now got to work harder, or if it's not in your position, this guy's going to help us do more. When you bring in just one guy pretty late in the window, Donny was not in early doors. He wasn't an early signing by any means. It does mean that you have this feeling of, we've just worked our asses off to get third. We've got to 3 semi-finals, did the best we could, but we're just short. We're only getting one in, and you look around the rest of the league. Chelsea bought like 14 players. City are buying most, defense. How many defenders have they bought now? 4 defenders or something, 3-4 defenders, and more players are coming in. Surely tomorrow they'll be getting the checkbook out again. Arsenal are looking decent. They've brought players in. Everton have brought in some really, really astute and shrewd signings with a really good manager. When you look around at that as a player, I would assume you look around and you say, why are we, who are quote unquote in the biggest club in the world, not being back to the same level as a team of Everton stature? No disrespect to them. I've really enjoyed watching them play. The bits that I've seen of them this season. I think they're looking really, really strong. But they're not Manchester United. The big name. They're not got that huge sponsorship deals, etc., etc., etc. If you're a player for Manchester United, you're going, why did we bother? I thought we were going to get some backup. We were going to get someone who's going to give us a night off so we can play well in Premier League, and then midweek against Champions League opposition. Now it's going to be us twice a week, 3 times a week for the whole season. And that gives you a little bit of a bogging down, surely. You're thinking, we're just not dead at raters. They don't want to give us that next push to the next level. And I think this is the same thing that keeps on happening, that cycle that people have been talking about on Twitter and the meme that's going around. Hire a manager, spend big, get fourth, don't spend, drop down the league, sack the manager, hire a new manager. That whole circle. And it's going on in front of our eyes. Now, coaching, that's kind of the next thing. I think I'm not going to be blaming the coaches here. I'm putting it up because it's something that people have been talking about on Twitter and saying, oh, he's a crap coach, blah, blah, blah. I think it's completely and utterly wide of the mark. So that's kind of why I put it in, just for completeness sake. The reason I say that is big games against PSG, for example, we've turned them over, yes, with some luck, but we got ourselves into a position to do that and won that game. Beating City, beating Spurs last season, being very, very tight against Liverpool at Old Trafford, and they only just got the goal last minute of the game after another individual error. So it's one of those that I think the coaching is there. I think the players need to buck up their ideas, or they need some backup to give them time off to be in better condition more often. I think that's what's going to push United to the next level. It's having 16, 17 players in the squad who are good enough, who can play well, and can swap in for each other, to give someone a night off, to give someone a week off, if they need it, if they're just not feeling quite right. If there's a little niggle, then instead of having to play through that, you go, oh, Jaden can play this week. Marcus, you can sit on the bench if we need you. We'll call on you, but we're not planning on playing you. You can rest, relax, and recuperate. So that's kind of where I don't think coaching is an issue. There's also been talk that did the off-season antics cause some of the issue. I think with Maguire, absolutely, he's not looked this bad in his career, and the only thing that's changed is the Greek incident. So I think with him for sure, Maguire, there's definitely an issue there. I think it may be playing on his mind at some level, a very traumatic event. So maybe he needs some sort of help or some sort of confidence given into him to then get past this. Mason, I don't think that's an issue. Or Pogba getting coronavirus, you're an athlete. There is a huge effect on people with cardiovascular sort of effects of coronavirus. Could he be suffering from that? I don't know. You'd have to have a look at his numbers, his stats of running speed, SPO2, stuff like that. It's possible, but we don't know. But it could well be part of the factor of why he's not looking quite up to scratch and why he's not looking as fit as he normally does, because it does have a huge effect. There have been instances of young doctors who've caught it, or people, young people. So I know of a number of cases where someone in the prime of their life, fit and healthy, runners, etc., caught the virus. 12 weeks later, still can't breathe properly. Pain going upstairs, pain walking down to and from places. So that is something that could be an issue. I'm sure the club's been looking at that properly, and they won't have endangered all by any way. But that could be an issue as well. If that's the case, and he is struggling to recover a little bit, he needs again some time off. But there's no backup, or the backup isn't of the same quality as him, because he's probably one of the best midfielders on the planet once he's to form. So obviously that's another thing to look at. Just a little thought there. And then I think the big one, I read a book not so long ago, I can't remember what it was called now actually, but they were talking about direction of companies, direction of teams, and leadership, and the direction of any project comes from the top down, not the bottom up. With United, the top, or the leadership, is the Glazers, is Ed Woodward, and the direction is set by them, and their goals are financial, and this is known by everyone. Their goals are financial. They're going to let the club rot. They're doing what it seems they've done to every business that they've ever had, and it seems to be the American way in a way, to asset strip, and just juice the money, the club, for as much money as they can, without trying to put anything in and trying to improve the club at any point. So I think it's going to be difficult for Ollie to do anything while they're still here, and I think that's something that he has to. It's his cross to bear almost, and I don't envy him to be in that position. Although we would all love to be United manager, I think that is going to be the be all and end all, and at some point, unfortunately, I think he will be the man that they stick the blame on again, until the next person comes in and the whole cycle repeats itself. Hopefully somewhere we break that cycle. Hopefully somehow he's able to use his better judgment, his motivation and skills, once people are fit, once people are back up to speed, to squeeze that extra bit out of players like Fergie used to. And hopefully we may then have a little bit of a chance, but I know that is a very, very long shot, because there's not many people out there of the level of Sir Alex Ferguson when it comes to football management. So that's probably it for me today, guys. Make sure, if you're new, to subscribe down below. Let me know what you thought of the game. Hit the upvote if you think we're going to get any good signings. Downvote if you think we're not. And yeah, that's it's not been a fun review. Hopefully we'll have a better one next time. It'll be a couple of weeks, so maybe we'll have some time, some players to put some work in on the training ground, and they'll be a bit fitter for next time. Don't forget to like the video, and I'll be back for probably a transfer roundup. If anything else breaks, I'll do a video at some point during that day. Maybe not as often as some of the other channels. I've got another channel to run as well, but I will be back in the mix with whatever unfolds as we see the end of the transfer window, and hopefully we'll see Jadon Sancho left back come in and looking like Cavani. I think we need a centre half. I wonder if you could get a Koulibaly in like that. Let's see, guys. Thanks for joining me. I will see you next time.